We want to make these sessions as valuable as possible. So we're looking for suggestions. We're looking for ways to make it better. We've got a couple suggestions that have come in that we're going to talk amongst the management, deploy those, and hopefully from a time-wise and convenience standpoint, will add to the experience. But I just want to sort of recap where we're at. They are being recorded. They are on the website. I never record my first one. I never record my second one because I always think that whoever attends the second one, like yourself, you're going to attend the best session because the first one is that I'm learning how to do it. The second one is I got it down. And the third one, by the time I get to the third one, I'm too tired. This is the best one. We're going to record this one. Just a recap. Understanding the sales transaction, position yourself to win the deal. This is the 80-20 rule. This is what differentiates us in the marketplace. Today's session relies upon being a 20 and being different and setting the bar and understanding what we're doing when we handle objections. And then we had develop and execute your sales plan, sell to all personality types by leveraging the DISC, which is also important to your presentations, and then prospecting above the line. And then we have prospecting below the line. And today's is objection handling methodology in a non-manipulative manner. And then we go into the TAGS multi-step sales process, phase 1 and 2, the first meeting guide, phase 3, and then we go into phase 4, phase 5, and then we go into closing the telephony or surveillance deal. And then we're going to go with TAGS sales process Q&A at the end of it. Prior to getting that, one of the suggestions is not to wait to the end, but once a month, start discussing the 4 sessions, who's doing what, how they're doing with it, any questions that arise, and so forth. So we're going to talk about doing that also. Today is objection handling methodology in the non-manipulative manner. This handling objections or handling questions is a real delicate situation. It takes a fair amount of finesse to understand what we're going to be talking about here today, giving you a mindset of what works and what isn't working out there. Handling objections it's a sales, a logic and conclusion to a well thought out sales process. And the key here is that handling objections should be handled within your sales process as you move forward. As you have that process, you're able to anticipate what those questions are. And those of us who've been through the sessions and we've read Psycho-Cybernetics, we know that if we can put a picture in our mind and visualize it and see it, it's going to happen. Well, the same thing is that if we could put pictures or create questions in people's minds that we want those questions, we're able to do that understanding Psycho-Cybernetics and how we plant pictures. Let's talk about the sales process, which is the most important thing that we do. All right. I'm going to go through the sales process real quick. And in the next 4 to 5 sessions, we're taking a real deep dive into this sales process. I'm going to use the sales process here this morning to just show you how we set up questions and why the sales process works as far as handling objections before they become objections. We have that first appointment. We start with a dark web scan. We send out a front-end package. We look at the customer's website. We do the research. We know who we're talking with. We research on LinkedIn. We go on that first appointment. On that first appointment, we present the MSP 2-slide deck, which is sort of gives you what we do, our elevator speech of what we do from an MSP standpoint. It also talks about where they fall in line with is their system in a chaotic state or is it in a phase 5 state? We have the ABC drawing permissions where we talk about showing them we need to understand where we're at today and where we're going to go. Then we have that second appointment, sales engineer and salesperson site survey. And this is where the TAG organization says that the sales process it's a collaboration between sales, the operations department. We work as a team and our team sales process is extremely effective. We send out press releases, white papers to develop the relationship. We have internal meeting in determining the project works overview reports and so forth. And then we have that third appointment where we review the rapid fire reports. This is where we really set the bar, differentiate ourselves in the marketplace. And then we talk about, are we going to go cloud? Are we doing MSP? What are some of the options? And then we go into the closing aspect of the proposal. That's the sales process. What I'm going to try to demonstrate today is in that sales process, how we eliminate objections that's going to cost us the sale or lose the sale for us before they happen. Handling the objections. All right, old school, and many of us were taught this way. Those like myself who've been selling for 50 plus years. When we first started, we had Zig Ziglar, we had Think and Grow Rich, we had Brian Tracy, we had all of the sales processes that we were taught us to listen to an objection, share it and clarify the objection, solve the objection, and then ask for action as a result of the objection, which means we were taught to sell by understanding how to close on an objection. And we also were taught, here's the 126 closing techniques, depending upon the objections that you have. Well, this really doesn't work in today's environment. The marketplace is much more sophisticated. We're selling to more millennials and a different mindset. The sales process had to change with the times, and we have to come in with a different approach. The approach that we come in with is we look at how we handle objections today. Well, the first thing we do is we work with a proven sales process. Our sales process, and I try to call this the psychology of selling. That's why you have a sales process. In that first session that we talked about, you can find out where and how and why you lost a sale. If you have a process, you visualize that process of what happened, and you will find out where you lost that sale. And it's typically somewhere where you didn't follow your sales process or you deviated from your sales process. We infuse a consultative sales approach because in today's environment, you can't sell anything to anybody. Selling comes down to they buy from people they like, trust, and respect, first and foremost. They don't like to be sold, and they like to be treated with respect of their knowledge, and that they don't want to feel manipulated or abused in the transaction. We figure out how to incorporate consultative selling to them. We deal with objections by resolving those objections within the sales process. We pretty much know every objection that's going to occur. We know they're going to occur, so let's get rid of them before they become a challenge or a problem to our success. And what we're going to discuss today. If you're getting objections at the time of close, you need to do some soul searching and you need to understand you did something wrong. Because every objection that we're going to hear, we're going to discuss today. And this is the example we're using here today is the MTSP sales transaction. There's a sales process for each and every product that tags sells that has modifications to that sales process, but each process is a little differently. But the core essence of the process is to resolve objections, which usually are questions, because questions unresolved become objections and have the propensity or the probability of dismissing your success in the transaction. This is how we want to be able to approach the psychology of selling. Learning to anticipate the customer will have questions. And that's a mindset that you have to realize, hey, what are the questions that they're going to have? And many times we'll put those questions in the customer's mind so that they think about it. And as they're thinking about it, we answer it before they ask it. And knowing how to answer those questions before they have to ask you is a key ingredient of having a well thought out process. And oh, by the way, if you have a well thought out process, it's a logical conclusion to that sale. Questions unanswered become objections. So we want to make sure that we handle the questions that they should or may have. And many times a customer will have a question and not ask it. You have to make the assumption they're thinking it. And then you incorporate it into your sales presentation. Example, when you first walk into a customer, here's what they're thinking. Is this company the right company to handle my network? Do they have the staff? Do they have the knowledge? Do they have the expertise? Is their pricing in line? Do they know what they're doing? Now, whether you realize it or don't realize it, that's what the customer is thinking when you first walk in. They're trying to figure out, who is this company? Who is this person? No different than they're trying to figure out, are you a 20 or an 80? You're going to set the bar. So that's that first mindset when we go into a sale, is that we know that's what they're questioning. Whether they ask the question, high probability they're thinking it. Our job is to understand their thoughts and answer those thoughts and or questions before they're asked. Thought or questions: is this the right company? Do they have the resources? Do they have the knowledge to take care of my network, as we discussed? We talk about in how we handle that is that I start my presentations off with, Mr. Prospect, don't know if you received our front end package, but before we get started, I just want to let you know some background on iNet. iNet, we belong to a multinational organization called TAG that we do over $500 million a year in the IT, telephony, and cybersecurity space. We're in 138 cities across the United States and Canada, and we have over 600,000 customers. This gives us a brain bank of technology. We are either looking at, discussing, objecting to, or deploying the latest data technology. It's one of the strengths that we have in the group of companies that we have across Canada and the United States. When you look at our organization, this also gives us cooperative purchasing power, which allows us to be competitive in the marketplace. We give you a national presence with the mindset and the brain bank, with local presence of a company like ourselves that have been in the business in our community for 30 plus years. We think it's the best of both worlds. Now, what do we do here? We eliminated questions. We eliminated objections that could possibly rise. Is that this puts you in a much better light from the customer's perspective. They feel a lot more comfortable that they're dealing with the right business. And all that doubt or all those questions, we pretty much have been able to eliminate in the first part of our presentation of our sales process. That's why that becomes important. I'll give you another example. When you make a phone call, all right, when we call to make an appointment with a decision maker of the company, we know that when we make that phone call, there's only 3 questions that they can possibly ask. We know that they're going to ask these questions. Who's calling? We know they're going to ask, where are you from? And they're also going to ask you why. They are going to ask you, what is this about? Now, of the thousands of phone calls that we've made, we've never come up with any other questions than these 3 when you make that call. Knowing that, let's use the mindset. Let's answer the questions before they ask them. These are the only questions they could ask. Let's answer them. How do we do that? Hi, Dale Stein from iNet. I need to talk to Bill. Is he available? Well, we answered all 3 possible questions before they ask. Before they ask, they know who you are, they know where you're from, and they know that the reason you're calling is you need to talk to Bill. Now, their mind can't simulate all that information as quickly as anything. And here's what we know as a proven fact. 85 to 90% of the time, they push you through to the decision maker. Now, in our training, we talk about phone calls and so forth. And the one thing I want to talk to you here today is that I'm doing a real 50,000 foot above the surface of our sales process just to give you an understanding of how we eliminate questions. The next 4 sessions go into great detail of what those sessions are all about, such as making a call into a customer. But here's what we know. We've answered those 3 questions. And those of us who use this is that the simple understanding has allowed iNet and TAG members to be very successful in cold calling. That cold calling has been super successful. We're now making some of the calls in the beta program that's now being ramped up, is that we're able to average roughly about 10 appointments per month per TAG member, because we're able to get past the gatekeeper. We're able to ask for the appointment. We know it works. Another example. Selling IT services, We have sales process that deals with allowing us to put an analyzer on the network without an objection. That's an objection we get. I don't want you to put the analyzer on the network. Another objection that we have, having them notify their existing vendor that we want to put an analyzer on the network. We know that if that occurs, we have a major problem and a high probability we will not be successful in creating the chasm between their existing vendor and ourselves. Another objection that comes up is eliminate the objection of trust and continue to want to do business with the IT provider. Their objection is, I trust them. They're a good friend of mine. They've been here for a long time. Don't really want to change. That's an objection that we get. We're going to teach you how to handle that one. Another objection we have is we want to create a consultative sales process where they understand solutions are and what's in it for them. The objection is, well, what's in it for me? We know and we teach when you sit across the table, all they're wondering is what's in it for me, and your sales process is going to show them what it's in for them before they have to ask for it. Our sales process eliminates the price objection. We look at these 5 objections when we're selling managed services. Our sales process eliminates these 5 objections. If you eliminate these 5 objections, you have a much higher probability of a close to the transaction. And that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to go back through now and go through how we handle these. So how do we do this? Selling IT services, we have a sales process that deals with allowing us to put an analyzer on the network without an objection. And what we've done here is we walk in on that first appointment, and here, once again, ladies and gentlemen, the sales training is going to go into exact specific wording. All right. That's not my objective here today. My objective here is to show you and give you the understanding of the importance of eliminating these questions. But we're going to talk in and we use the hand motion as that, Mr. Customer, we need to take a snapshot. So when we are able to discuss with you what you have and what you don't have, because right now, without that, I can't really make any kind of determination of what's you need to do or what you don't need to do. And then as we go through our process and you educate me about your business and I educate you about the technology, we're going to agree that we need to get here. But no one goes from here to here in one fell swoop. You got A, here's where we're at, here's where we're going to go, here's where we're going to end up with, and we're all going to agree to get there. Does that make sense to you? Can you see the value of doing that? Now, as soon as they say, yes, I see the value of doing that, and any rational human being, when it is explained this way, will agree, yeah, you can't be too much value to me unless you know what's going on. Well, when they do that, what did they just agree to? They agreed to allow you to put an analyzer on the network. Subconsciously, we got that first process. Yes, I see the value. I see that, yes, you need to figure out what's going on. Yes, I see why you have to put that analyzer on the network. And oh, by the way, this person is going to be talking to me about my business, which, okay, that's important to me. And oh, by the way, I brought in the consultative is that we both agree we're going to ultimately get to this, but we don't have to go there in one fell swoop. And you know what? Every time you do this, they relax, they open up, and they give you more information. And all of a sudden, getting the analyzer on the network no longer becomes an issue. However, having them notify their existing vendor to put the analyzer on the network is that becomes a major concern. If that happens, the probability of getting that transaction diminishes. What we want to do is we want to talk about best practices of audits from a bank and accounting firm. And we say, you know what? We want to get the analyzer on the network. We want to be able to do that without someone coming in and either rectifying, trying to change things and whatever. If you are being audited by your bank or your accounting firm, on their questionnaire, I think it's number 3, best practices says, do you have access to your password to your domain server? When it comes back and they say, well, no, I don't. Well, when I started my presentation, I talked about strike 1. And strike 1 is and I go back to them, I say, well, here, Mr. Customer, let me ask you a question. Has your existing IT company shown you this dark web report? They'll say, well, no, I haven't seen it. I say, well, okay, well, that's strike one. That really, that's, you're paying them to protect you. They should at least notified you that you've had some compromises on your emails. That being said, I suspect you have a strike two here in that, have they given you access to your password? And they say, no, I don't have access. Well, that's strike two. Here's what my suggestion, like I said before, your bank, your accounting firm, if you were to do an audit, would ask for that. My suggestion to you is let them know you're contemplating having an audit done by your bank or your accounting firm. And you've been told that best practices is that you need to have access to your domain server's passwords. Please give that to me so that when I go through this audit, I have it, or if I do go through the audit, and I would like to have my own passwords. Now, you got a 90% probability that they're going to get the passwords. You're not going to have that issue, and you've eliminated that objection of, oh, I don't have passwords, and I need to bring in my IT company. And I'm going to save strike three for later on in the presentation, but I want to get the mindset strike one, strike two, because when we get to strike three, when we get on our appointment three, we've mentally have built a picture in their mind. Well, that's strike one, that's strike two, that's strike three. And subconsciously, they think, oh, strike three, they're out. Our whole sales process is designed to create a chasm between their existing IT company and themselves. Without that chasm, we don't have an opportunity. And that's what we're going to be able to do here. We create the consultative sales approach, where we show and understand what our solutions are and what's in it for them. Now, sort of this particular portion of our sales process to this day intrigues us. Almost 100% of every tag member, that new tag member that's come into the organization, when we looked at their sales process, it was they go out, they meet the customer, they talk about IT, they talk about, sometimes they get into H24.3.2 and the minutia. They gather information either through an analyzer, or they gather information in some fashion by going and looking in the room and so forth. They then go in, they take all that information, and they come back on the second appointment and they go, oh, here's what's going on in your network. Here's what's wrong. Here's what's right. And then they put a contract in front of them and say, this will resolve your issue, sign here. Well, that's a real tough way to try to close a transaction. I mean, one of the values that we've brought to our tag membership is a sales process that has the psychology of selling into it. And that third appointment, all we do is go in and we show them what we discovered. We typically will do a Visio and go back to our hand motions. Okay, Mr. Customer, here's what you have. And then we do a Visio of here's where we believe you need to go based on this questions and based on the input that we had on the first and second meeting that we've had with you. Let me go through and show you, and then we go through the 12 points of how we came up with 97 or 95% risk factor. And we explain to them, and here again, this is going to be into great detail when we go through the sales process. We explain to them what they're missing, what they're not getting. We're not selling them anything. And what happens if you go in and you say, how many computers, how many servers, and you say, here's your solution because here's what's not being done. It's too much information for someone to simulate. We want to go through all this information. We want to include them where they become part of the discussion, and we're not selling to them. In today's sales process and today's selling, you can't sell anything to anybody. All you can do is educate them and respect them as a person, as a company, and treat them with that respect. They now feel like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand it now. It's been explained to me. And it's little things like when we get into the detail is that, hey, you have 30 employees and you have 60 IP addresses. Well, that's giving you that's taken and driven your score higher to risk because it is a risk factor. But, here's the tragedy. That's a real easy thing to resolve. All that means is somebody's not managing the Active Directory. That can be taken care of relatively quickly. But it does give us an indication that, if it's being sloppy handling here, what else is not being done on your network? And that's why we've ended up with this 95% or 97% score factor. And at that third appointment, we also talk about, are we going to go cloud versus MSP? We're going to talk about Azure. We're going to feel them out. We're going to get their feelings, their discussion, their understanding of those different technologies. And that third meeting becomes collaboration. What do you think we need to do? Why do you think we need to do it? Where are we going to go with? Here's our suggestions and so forth, based on your business and your business needs and what you're trying to accomplish with your business. So what you've done here now, you've created and you got rid of the objections of, oh, I'm not being sold. I don't feel the pressure. And the other thing is you've set the bar. Your competitors, who are mostly 80s, are going to come in and they're going to immediately go to, here's how many computers, here's how many servers you have, here's your price, after they give all the information. Too much to absorb. Now allows us to eliminate a price objection. And this is where, and that third meeting, we come in and we say, Mr. Customer, I don't know what you're paying for your services, but this is everything we've gone through. Whatever you're paying today, it's a very, very expensive way of handling your network. And it's expensive because you're paying for something you're not getting. That's very expensive. It's the most expensive thing you can do, is to pay for something and not get what you're paying for. I look at how it's being managed, and I'll say to you, if you allow me to manage your network the way that it's being managed today by your existing provider, I'll do it for half the cost. And I know that's not what you want. You want to have what you deserve to protect not only your customers, protect your company, but protect your employees also. Does that make sense to you? When I go in for the sales presentation, the last part of our sales process, it's going to be pretty hard for them to say, well, you're too much money. I'm not paying that much money. It's too much. You cost too much. Because we just showed them, and if they do bring it up, say, well, wait a second. If it's the cost you want, I'll manage it the same way it's being managed right now for half the cost. Do you really want to do that? And you know what? They'll say, no, you're right. Price objection does not come up when you pre-plan the objection, because guess what? They're not doing a good job. You are going to be more expensive because you're more thorough, and people only buy price when you don't give them anything else. And you're going to be able to show them in the following presentation, here's everything you're not getting, and here's what you should get. And you know what? They're not going to object to the price. As you can see, knowing and understanding questions and objections before they occur is called controlling the sales process, deploying the process properly, allowing customers to like you, to trust you, and to respect you. The thing that I say to everybody is that we're human beings. We got to hear things multiple times. That's why with these recordings is that ever so often go back and refresh. And we're learning a lot by doing these. And we hope to redo and recast about every 6 months, get through the whole process and know what we learn and continue to keep making it better. All right. Any other comments? Anything that clarification from a raise of hands? Do you think, and do you better understand the psychology of selling versus, trying to close an objection? Did anyone learn that at all? Raise of hands. Okay. So if it was worth your time, guys, that's all that really matters. I love doing this. I enjoy working with each and every one of you. As you start developing and start utilizing these, we at TAG are always available. You have our phone numbers, my phone number, you have our email, my email. You got something going, reach out, please, because all you can do is be better. And, I used to say Tiger Woods used to be the best golfer in the world. He had 3 coaches. Don't you? You deserve at least 1 or 2 coaches, don't you? We all do. All right. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye.
Only follow the process if you want to close the deal.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. Someone said, Dale, would you do that process on every deal? I said, no. It's the only time I will use the process if we want to close the transaction. Thank you. All right, guys.
Thanks.
You have a good one. Thank you.